So now I'll be talking about Luffy. He's a highly active 19-year-old male with a BMI of 19. His occupation is a head ocean aquatic life tamer slash terrain manager. He actually has to have hemochromatosis, and I'm going to explain why right now. So usually when he expands and unexpands his skin, he's gonna lose collagen just because he doesn't have 100% absorption rate of the collagen. And same thing goes for the metal, where when he forms the metal and deforms the metal, he's gonna lose some of it to the air. And his blood vessels aren't like a normal person's, they're more squiggly and kinked bilaterally. They kind of look like this on both sides. He's, and usually how he maintains his blood pressure is probably through the normal mechanism where he can control the vasoconstriction and vasodilation of the blood vessel. But another mechanism he may be able to do it through is forcefully vasospasming. So he can vasospasm bilaterally and cause propulsion of the blood to go through much faster, or he can do reverse vasospasms like towards the outside portion. This can slow down the blood and it can cause hypotension. And if he, for the smaller blood vessels, he may not want to do bilateral vasospasm and just do a unilateral. This is just to prevent a buildup of pressure and cause the bursting of blood vessels. So he also has the ability to turn his body into metal. One mechanism he can do this through is by obstructing the blood vessel in a certain location and causing like the iron to build up. And then as soon as it builds up here, he can open it back up and then close it here and build it here and then open that up and do it here and so on. And if this is the mechanism, he probably has many accessory arteries. This is kind of like how the mechanism of a coarctation occurs with accessory blood vessels as well. So due to the stasis of iron, you may want to expect a little high iron just because it would be normal for him and the iron is staying in place. And because the blood vessel causes stasis due to hypercontraction, the iron may also build up as well. He probably has hyper-Ehlers-Danlos. So to do a workup, you may want to do an EKG or echo every 3 months or 6 months. And since he's always outside and exploring the ocean, you may want to recommend a daily sunscreen protocol. Usually, sunscreens start at SPF 35 and go all the way up to SPF 50. After that, SPF 50, there hasn't been shown any benefits that would increase after SPF 50. And then usually for sunburns, you just give NSAIDs to treat the pain. But if it's really severe and causes severe hypotension, you can give IV fluids. And if a wound appears, you can do wound debridement. And a lot of times, due to his blood vessels constantly being stretched and like being narrowed, it may cause like an emergency hypertension. And this is treated with nitrous prusside. And nitrous prusside has 5 cyanide molecules attached to it, which can cause cyanide toxicity. And the way you would treat that would be with cyanocobalamin or thiosulfate, which is more common. And then if you see like elevated blood pressure daily, and you may want to give these mortality improvement beta blockers such as metoprolol or carvedilol. Well, metoprolol is a cardioselective beta blocker, but let's say that the patient had lung disease as well. You wouldn't give metoprolol, even though it's cardioselective. You can still induce like lung damage, lung issues, bronchoconstriction, because it has a similar structure to non-cardioselective beta blockers. Instead, you may just want to give them calcium channel blockers instead. So metoprolol comes in 2 varieties. It comes in metoprolol succinate and it's metoprolol tartrate. Metoprolol succinate has a long duration but a low potency, whereas metoprolol tartrate has a high potency but low in duration. And the way I like to think about this is like I like to think of the gluconeogenic cycle, and succinate choline is part of that. So we know that glucagon is used to treat a beta blocker overdose. It's not usually first line. First line is atropine, but for this example, I'm going to use glucagon. Glucagon is usually used in emergencies for beta blocker overdose, and glucagon increases cyclic AMP, whereas beta blockers decreases cyclic AMP, hence the reversal of beta blocker overdose. So I like to think succinylcholine isn't like as strong of a stimulant for cyclic AMP, but it acts more as a filter. So that way metoprolol succinate, it gets to its location much slower and maybe like one molecule at a time. So that's why it's not as potent as metoprolol or tartrate, which can send like 5 molecules at a time, but the molecules finish up much quicker and reach the destination much quicker, which is why it has a shorter duration and a higher potency compared to metoprolol succinate. So you may want to measure transferrin and transsaturin levels just to make sure he has hemochromatosis and that his hemochromatosis is under control, and measure iron levels as well constantly just to make sure they're not too low. You may want to do a genetic analysis for Ehlers-Danlos or Marfan syndrome. These defects usually are associated with mitral valve prolapse or aortic dissections. So you may also want to provide him with an emergency rapid phlebotomy kit. The supplements you may want to give him is a vitamin C. You may want to give him collagen and iron. So you should give him these supplies to last 2 weeks, and you should give it to him for twice a month. So 24 times 2 times a month would equal 48 refills. And one thing associated with iron supplements is they cause constipation, so they're frequently given with stool softeners as well. You may want to provide him with portable iron measurement tools, and you should be ready for both scenarios of high and low iron. And to avoid scurvy, he may want to consume some oranges to get some vitamin C so he can allow hydroxylation to occur and allow collagen to form. So if you want more depth on hemochromatosis or collagen formation, please watch my other videos. Otherwise, to be continued.